Hello, Tony and Nancy. You're the only ones I can see. How is everybody? I always wish I could get that to not blow out in the background, but I cannot. So maybe I'm the only one that's bothered by it. Good evening, Tony. Opening and closing the day. Hi, Blossom Violet. Welcome, welcome, everybody. So, go ahead and plug this in. Hello, Mark. And Duchess. Is there anybody new here joining me, joining Lives and Insight Timer? I've got a frangipani here. It's a little old. As you can see. How was everybody's day? Welcome, Amy. Daisy, welcome. It's been a while. J.E. I'm glad you say hello because, at least from my end, and I just realized this recently, if somebody doesn't have an actual profile picture, I don't think you show up in the the stream of people that are at the bottom of my screen anyway. So yeah, I don't know you're here unless you say hello. So hi, Rochelle and Nancy number 2 we have now. Great. My birthday's in 1 week. I'm just reflecting on that because I'm going to the beach today. I'm about an hour away to do a self-led ceremony at sunset that a Balinese healer told me to do when I saw him a few weeks ago. Yeah, I've got to get a white rose for this ceremony, and I have to go in the water and at sunset. It's very specific. And then he does a sunrise birthday ceremony. So that's why I'm thinking of this, because in 1 week on my birthday, I need to double check that he's still available, but that he will do a birthday sunrise ceremony. So, anyway, hi Gemini. Hi Blossom Violet Gemini. I already said hello, but I was trying to say hi Jessica. Welcome. So yeah, the beach that I'm going to go to, because the way Bali is shaped, it's a bit like an inverted triangle, and most everybody lives in the lower part of the triangle. And so where I live is in kind of the middle. So it's like an hour to a beach facing east, an hour facing west if you go direct. So, yeah, I will get to maybe go to different beaches for sunrise and sunset. Yeah, I actually have had a tour and travel consultation practice, Nancy, so I'm an expert with Bali. So if you want to connect on that one-on-one, send me a message. Yeah, definitely have suggestions, and also if she needs things coordinated or just suggestions alone, send me a message. I saw somebody else. Is it Charles? Yeah, he didn't say. It's like a self-love ceremony. I recorded him on a voice note as he was telling me what to do, and I haven't heard it in a few weeks. All I remember is like today, I'm like, I've got to make sure I leave early and go get a white rose before I go. Oh, but the name of the beach, that's what I was going to say. The name of the beach in Balinese language is Ye Ganga. Ye, and I don't know if I'm saying that right. Ye means waterfall. And Ganga is actually Indian, or I don't know, Sanskrit or something, but the Ganges, what we know as the Ganges River, the actual name is Ganga. That's what they call it in India and Asia. So Balinese are Hindu, so the Ganges is very important to them. So this is like, yeah, like Ganga Beach. So anyway, today we will be continuing our book study. There's Nothing Wrong with You. Is there anybody, as I said, new coming in? Hi, Kieran. Nice to see you. Please say hello. If anybody's brand new to this book series, don't worry. You're catching it at the perfect time. I can send you a free PDF of it if you send me a message privately. Also, if you follow me on YouTube, all my replays are there, and also in playlists with these series that I'm doing, so you can catch up if you like. And don't forget to follow me here on Insight Timer and Facebook, Instagram. See my website, all that stuff. Yeah, I've got a number of meditations here. I am going to put more up. It's on my list. Did I say I'm a spiritual life coach and Reiki Master Teacher? I don't think so. But I was just thinking, like, because I have a coach as well. And it's like, okay, I keep saying I'm going to do this. I get to, like, make an agreement with accountability with my coach that I'm actually going to get these meditations up on my profile. So, welcome, Bon. Nice to have you. So the book we will be studying is, or not, well, whatever, listening and discussing, reading and discussing, is called There's Nothing Wrong with You Going Beyond Self-Hate by Cheri Huber. It is a spiritual-based book. It is Buddhist-based, meaning mindfulness and meditation. And there's some bit of Zen in there as well. But it's very accessible. It's very down to earth, so don't worry about that. If your mind has an issue, just let that go. So it's narrative, it's quotes, it's also sometimes like a dialogue between guide and student. So the guide is the author, and she does workshops, and I think some of this was taken from a workshop. So, my invitation for you, as always, when we interface with this material is to be present and focused with it and mindful, because our precious attention, where we pay that to, is really our most important asset in how we interface with the world. And so, we have an epidemic of distraction. So it's a wonderful practice of training yourself, training your mind, retraining yourself, having self-discipline, even mindfulness. You can even look at it as a meditation, that you be fully focused for this session. So that's the invitation. Thank you, Duchess. So I will read from the book from my phone. I have the PDF. And I will stop and we'll discuss. So please put in your questions, comments, and we will flow. So does anybody have any questions? You can hear the rooster joy around me. It is morning here in Bali, 10 a.m. So whatever noises, sounds you have in your world, using everything just as part of your experience and not resisting any sounds, noises, or movements. Okay. So if you are following along, if you have the book or the PDF, page 207 on the actual page. And it starts out with the guide speaking, and then the student, or maybe just the guide speaking. I used to think I was going to find within myself a grown-up to parent my child. I've discovered that it's really a case of finding the child who can care for the grown-up. The secret is this: the adult is the abused product of society's conditioning, while the child, who was, thank goodness, abandoned so that this person could survive, is still here inside, whole and complete and original. I'm going to read that again. Who else needs that read again? That went super deep. Y'all are ready for it. So she's talking about the inner child and reparenting that child, because this book is basically about, how we're conditioned and how we grow up, and then how, for most everyone, that creates this fundamental belief that there's something wrong with us and that we're broken and we need fixed. So it's a process of, deconditioning ourselves through spiritual mindfulness, meditation, compassion, working with ourselves. So that's sort of the context in which this is coming from. So listen again. I used to think I was going to find within myself a grown-up to parent my child. I've discovered that it's really a case of finding the child who can care for the grown-up. The secret is this: the adult is the abused product of society's conditioning, while the child, who was abandoned so that this person could survive, is still here inside, whole and complete and original. So that wonder child, that inner child, that's the not the wounded child, but the wonder child, is still here, whole and complete and original. So we think, or this they think, and I resonate with this, that it's about finding a grown-up to parent that child, when in reality it's about finding that wonder child who can care for the abused adult. We've grown up as the wounded child that are now adults, still waiting for that parenting. What we are doing in awareness practice, meaning meditation, mindfulness, what we are doing in awareness practice is experiencing that who we are is not the self-hating social conditioning. Who we are is the conscious, compassionate awareness that is our essential nature. As we learn to live more from essence, we grow to realize that it is our opportunity, our joy, and our delight to embrace into unconditional love and acceptance all that suffers. So, when you have that, there's something wrong with me, I hate myself, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, I fucked up again, I'm full of fear, if people really found out who I was, they would reject me, all of that stuff is that conditioning, that self-hating social conditioning. That's not who we are. So when we are present, when we are mindful, when we are meditating, practicing, we embrace that part of ourselves, those emotions, those sensations, if you want to put it into parts, that part. And we give it unconditional love and acceptance, that part that suffers. You have to take responsibility for living today the life you want to live. You have to take responsibility for living today the life you want to live. In this book, it's cool because it's got big writing and it's got illustrations. So it's got this graph that says what I want in my life: acceptance, rejection, compassion, judgment, clarity, shoulds, freedom, resistance, mastery. Check one. Yes, no, maybe. So it's our choice what we will choose. It's our choice and our responsibility. The only difference between the life you are living and the life you want to live is the feeling of being appreciated, loved, and accepted unconditionally. So give it to yourself right now, this minute. Don't wait. Not when you've changed, not when you're in a better mood, not when you've earned it. Right now. You could start with appreciating yourself for being here, reading this book, for caring, for being willing, for opening your heart. How does that feel? So often the mind, it works in concepts. So it's like, yeah, I'll accept myself and I'll love myself. And then that puts it off into some future moment that's never going to come. Or like, next time I'll meditate, I'll practice self-compassion. No. We can only do anything right now anyway. So this is the invitation. You don't have to wait for a future moment, when you're in a better mood, when you're not tired, when you're more focused. This is the perfect time. What can you appreciate about yourself? This is a practice one of my life coaches gave me. They had me, or invited me, to do daily acknowledgements. Every day I wrote what I could acknowledge myself for. And that was a very powerful practice. Acknowledgements, appreciation are similar. So I acknowledge you for showing up here. I acknowledge myself for that as well. I acknowledge myself for, getting up before 6 a.m. for an early coaching call. Being present, doing my best to be of service, standing in possibility for that person with that person. Caring and loving and serving to the best of my ability. Doing yoga. Eating my morning dragon fruit. Doing my exercises. I acknowledge myself for still, for showing up in this game of life every day, doing my best, doing things despite how I feel. So what can you all acknowledge and appreciate about yourselves? I'm wondering if my computer is too hot. It's a bit hot. Hold on a second. It's similar to like an Abraham Hicks rampage of appreciation, but also different. If any of y'all know. Abraham's rampages. That's just sick and showing up anyway. Especially if we have an intention to show up. And of course, we want to be reasonable. And also, we want to be accountable and we want to follow through on our word. So if we tell ourselves we're going to do something, part of growth and self-love is the self-discipline of having the integrity of I'm going to follow through on what I said I was going to do. Even though, now here I am in this moment and I might not feel like it or I might be sick. Or even like I said about me putting more meditations on Insight Timer. I've said it and I haven't done it. And not that there's something wrong with me or about that. And also, there's an invitation and an opportunity to follow through on my word because our word is who we are. We don't have anything but our word. How many times have you noticed if you've said, I'll do this or I'll do that, and then you don't? When we do that, we're out of integrity. So what would happen if you actually did everything you told yourself you were going to do or told others you were going to do? And or you stop saying you're going to do stuff if you know you're not going to do it. So then maybe you're saying you will do less things. You're being more discerning in what you agree to with yourself and others, so you can clean it up on both ends. Hi, Angela. Glad to see you. Then we start to trust ourselves and trust our word to ourselves. And this is another reason why coaching is so good, because it's a space and a container, for the person receiving coaching to say they're going to do something, and then they're, held to it. And if it doesn't happen, it's a great opportunity to look at, what got in the way of you following through on your word? Not that it's a pass, fail, good, bad, right, wrong, but there's something there. Isn't it interesting? And a lot of growth can come, and information can come. And we don't want to judge anyone. And also, if you think about people in your life, is there people that might come to mind where they say they're going to do all this stuff and then they never do it? Or they might be like, let's make plans and let's do this and that, and then it never happens, or they don't reach back out. And again, it's a fine line of being in other people's business and judging, and also just noticing. And then, of course, looking at ourselves. When do we do that? Because how you do one thing is how you do everything. So if if we're breaking our word to ourselves, it's damaging. And then we're more likely to break our word to others. Which is also why in my coaching practice, we have clear agreements. We make agreements about how we're going to show up and how we're going to create the space together for this reason. So that bit wanted to come on through. So if you joined in late or not since the beginning, welcome. We're studying the book There's Nothing Wrong with You. Hi, Mishi. Don't forget to follow me here on Insight Timer, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, all that. Give a donation if you would like, if this is helpful, if you find my live streams valuable or my meditations. And if you want a free PDF copy of this book, send me a private message. So we will continue. Take this one in. There is nothing in life that could happen to you that is worse than living in fear and self-hate. There's nothing in life that could happen to you that is worse than living in fear and self-hate. And the great sadness is that living in fear and self-hate won't keep what you fear and hate from happening to you. Thanks for sharing that, Angela. So that's page in the book 211 on the actual page, not in the PDF. So if I might offer something there, that's a great example. You feel, and if we were one-on-one, I would ask for permission and ask you questions. But since we're here, I'm just going to share what I see, if that's okay. That there's a sense of incompleteness. You're incomplete around this situation. So what do you need to get complete? Do you need to do something internally within yourself? Work with yourself, forgive yourself, have an intention, a commitment to not do that again? Does the completeness require you reaching out to the other party and coming back and being honest in exactly what you shared right then? Which could look something like, hey, I know that I disappeared. I apologize for that. I noticed that I said yes when I really didn't have the space to, and I got overwhelmed. And so instead of communicating that, I just disappeared and I apologize. Something like that. And then you could say, so, something moving forward, how you're going to show up differently, or if you want to reschedule or something like that. Yeah, our journey, the human journey is messy and overwhelming at times. I'm in this coaching program. It's group coaching. And I think I said this in a live recently. It just happened the other week. And I was being coached and I had a meltdown due to, the coaching was very powerful and impactful, and I was bawling my eyes out in front of 40 people about, my deepest fears and insecurities. It's messy, and actually that was what was most powerful for people. Everyone could relate, even my coach, the leader of this program. He's like a millionaire, like 20-year, well, I don't know if he's that, but he's up there with his monetary success level, and he's, been doing this 20 years, and he's like, I still, even yesterday, I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? I'm not helping anybody. Like, we're all, humans, and there's nothing wrong with us. So then it's about bringing in what this book says, this self-compassion, unconditional self-acceptance. So the next page, it's got a little drawing here. I'll read it and then show you. We cling to our belief that there's something wrong because that's how we maintain our position at the center of the universe. There's something wrong with this universe and I need to fix it. We cling to our belief that there's something wrong because that maintains our position in the center of the universe. So this book talks about being egocentric, or centrific. That's not right. Egocentric. That's what we learn and are conditioned to into childhood. So the ego needs to maintain its separate self in order to stay alive. So it does that through this self-hate, when that's an illusion and that's not real and that's not who we are. We are the awareness of that. We are the oneness. We are the I am. So next page, it says self-hate doesn't work, or does it? Guide. Beating myself up over something is a really good scam, because while I'm over here beating myself up, I'm really over here working at improving my character. I'm beating myself up, saying, once again, I've eaten something I shouldn't eat. If I could just handle this compulsive eating, then I would be the person I should be. And then conveniently not noticing that over there, I'm getting set up to collude with self-hate by punishing myself when I don't meet the standard. I'm so stressed out, I need a treat, maybe a banana split or just a nice mocha latte with extra whipped cream. So it works in two ways. So how many can relate to the dynamic? You've eaten something you shouldn't eat. If I could just handle this compulsive eating, then I'd be the person I should be. And I'm so stressed out, I need a treat, maybe a banana split. And it might not be eating. It could be anything in place of that, or it might be that. I've had that one for sure, and it still happens. Not with sweets, thank God. So it's a whole system that keeps itself alive with that judgment. Punishing myself makes me feel that number one, I'm doing the best I can to make myself be the person I should be. And even though I'm failing to be the person I should be, number two, I get rewarded because I try so hard and I get punished so much. Student, it's difficult to see until it's been pointed out several million times that this way of improving my character, which I've been diligently doing all my life, doesn't have the desired effect. Guide. In fact, it has the opposite effect, which is why we do it. For example, it's hard for people like us to feel like victims, but if I don't feel like a victim, how can I justify my privileged position in life? I can't. And so the only way I can feel like a victim is to victimize myself. I work so hard and I try so hard and I just punish myself constantly. And my God, I need a trip to Nepal to try to get some relief, to find some meaning in this life, you know. Or I need a new car because I'm victimized by this hideous commute. Student, I've learned so deeply that if I don't punish myself, I'm not a good person. And that those two things are equal. The more I hate myself for doing bad stuff, the better, more virtuous person I am. Who can relate to this? Guide. Of course, as soon as we take a look at it, we realize it never worked and it still doesn't work. And in fact, we have no evidence that it ever worked on anybody. It didn't work on us when we were kids, and it hasn't worked on us since we've been adults. It doesn't work on any kids we know. It doesn't work. Why do we continue to do it then? I say this a lot in my coaching. You can't shame yourself into change. You can't hate or shame yourself into change, yet that's what we do automatically in this, even in this example with the food. If shaming and hating ourselves into change would have worked, it would have worked a long damn time ago, right? Student, because it does work in a superficial way. I can beat myself up for doing something bad and scare myself enough so that I won't do that bad thing again. So on this level, you can say it does work. Guide, I think it does work, but not in the way we like to pretend it does. It works in that it enables me to do anything I want to do because I have to make up to myself for all the punishment I've received in life. It goes like this. I punish myself in ways that reinforce my identity. Then I indulge myself in ways that maintain my identity. It's a constant balancing act in which I will be hard on myself in these ways so that I can indulge myself in these ways. Most of us are pretty good at balancing these two. The result is maintenance of self-hate. Totally, Angela. So there's a payoff. I ask that too in coaching conversations sometimes. What's your payoff? In believing these stories, in these limiting beliefs. I've always been that way. The payoff is that we get to continue to stay in the pattern, and we get to be right about who we believe ourselves to be. Oh, there I did it again, because that's what I always do. I've always been this way. I failed. So then we can just stay in our comfort zone. Hi, April. Oh, yeah. We reject ourselves because of fear that we are not worthy. Yeah, what do you think? You tell me. The whole thing is part of the system of self-hate, which is the other thing this book reiterates. We're playing in the system. So we could say, like, it's a football field or a soccer field if you're in America. If you go out and play any of these games, you're on the playing field of self-hate, even if it might look like, oh, I'm, kicking over here, or I'm dribbling, or I'm passing, or I'm shooting a goal, but you're still on this whole field of self-hate. The only way is to get off the field totally, which is unconditional self-acceptance and surrender and love, presence, mindfulness in this moment now, not as a concept, but as an experience in the moment when the shit comes up. It's possible, and, we're all Michael Singer fans here. It's not easy, it's possible, and it's the path. It's really the only invitation, over and over and over again, coming inside. Nothing to do, no one to do it. When you are in the present moment, there is no you that is separate and alone, no identification with egocentricity. Self-hate is designed to make sure that doesn't happen. Self-hate will pull you out of the experience of the present moment in order to get you to focus on what's wrong, what did I do? This is known as something wrong mind. It's that self-conscious questioning and analysis that brings you out of the present moment, either into the past, how should I have been instead of how I was, or into the future, what should I do about it? That's exactly what I was just saying. And y'all, if you missed it, watch that Michael Singer talk from like the other day on my channel, because it talks about that. It doesn't matter what happened then. All that matters is what happens now, which is what I'm saying also. Because then it's a trap again. It's back on the playing field of self-hate if we conceptualize and be like, yeah, I'm going to work on that. Yeah, I'm really going to give compassion to myself. Well, when? We can only ever do that right now. Ooh, awesome, Nancy. I'm actually, and I get to schedule the follow-up to that talk the other day because we didn't finish the talk. So stay tuned for that. It might be at a not usual time, like in my afternoon, because for me, with living in Bali and my schedule of seeing clients and doing live streams, it's mostly morning and evening is my busy time. My afternoons, I have a lot more availability. I mean, I'm doing stuff, but so I'm really busy in these next weeks. And so I'm thinking I might get to fit in the singer at a time that's not usual. But we'll see. Stay tuned. The best reason to look at self-hate is that it gets in the way of being able to do spiritual practice. It gets in the way of finding that place of deep compassion within ourselves that is the largest part of spiritual practice. So the largest part of our spiritual practice is practicing compassion. And the self-hate gets in the way of that. Angela. I can imagine that would be challenging. Yeah. So there's also within every challenge an opportunity. So I would invite you to consider what's the opportunity there. Thank you for sharing. Sitting still, sitting with. When I first came to a spiritual practice, I thought I would learn to sit and all my conditioning, my suffering, my past would just go away and I would simply be centered. Now I see that sitting, meaning meditation, sitting means sitting with all of that, allowing it to be exactly as it is, not needing to do something about any of it. Every time I try to fix myself, I compound the problem. Y'all, listen to that. Listen up. Every time I try to fix myself, I compound the problem. I'm on the playing field of self-hate. How many of you can relate to sitting in meditation and it's just a shit show of self-hate, basically? Or in past, thinking of future. What did I do? What did I not do? What do I want? What do I not want? What did I do? Right and wrong. I'm so fucked up. I can't meditate. My mind won't stop. Yes. So the sitting practice is sitting with all of that, allowing it to be exactly as it is and not needing to do something about any of it, not going in but surrendering. This is, again, where Singer comes in and the surrendering. Seeing that. Noticing the mind. Noticing sensations in the heart that come up as a result. Being the loving awareness. Ram Dass's, teaching, I am loving awareness, using that mantra. I am loving awareness. I read something that said, trauma was not what happened, but trauma was that there was no compassionate witness or empathetic witness. That hit. So we get to be that compassionate, empathetic witness to ourselves as this self-hate is there. Yeah. Howard. Self-talk all through the day. I mean, at least you're noticing. We always start with that. We're becoming aware. There's an awareness now. It was already always there. But if we're on this path, we're seeing it. Yeah. Duchess, I can relate. I mean, my parents sent me to a therapist at 16 years old, and at 14 years old, I fell into a deep depression. I started drinking at 14 and using drugs at 16. I was like any parent's worst nightmare child. I mean, not child, teenager. I was an awesome kid. And I was an awesome teenager. There's nothing wrong, but you know what I'm saying. Yes, so that's why April, the inner child work, is so helpful, because it gives the mind something tangible to work with, and we can tune into the energy of that child to have compassion. And even, like, y'all know me, I've got my, there I am, look at me. How could anybody hate that? How could I hate that? And that's on this playing field of self-hate for me to think, how can I hate myself when that's me? Look at that. Look at that conditioning. But I caught it immediately. Now, I didn't catch it before it came out of my mouth. But that's the journey. I saw it. Yes, Shaw. Hi, Shaw. Yeah. Couldn't being on the path be trying to fix ourselves? Yeah, Michael Singer calls it the pathless path. Oh, that's cute, Angela. Yeah, tuning into that little handprint. So every time I try to fix myself, I compound the problem. When the conditioning can just come up and pass away, it loses power, it loses momentum. So that's that relax and release, that surrendering, not getting caught up in this, doing our best to be loving awareness and just allow and stop. And then it will move through. In this way, sitting with it dissolves it, burns it away, strips it away. Sometimes it will feel like a burning if you're really transmuting some powerful energy or whatever big energy. To do this requires the deepest level of presence and focus and attention, for me at least. And I can do it. Like, y'all remember I talked about when I was getting over my ex, and the way I did that was like making a decision and a commitment, because I was so fucking miserable and done with feeling that way. It took like this precision presence Not letting the mind wander for a split second. It's not easy. It's simple. It's not easy. And from what I hear from all the teachings and teachers, this is what brings liberation and awakening and what everything we're seeking in the outside world. Hi, Rose. So we will wrap up here. Actually, I want to read this next passage because it's flowing with the topic, and it'll be good to read that and then stop instead of starting there next time. What's really going on? This is why meditation, paying attention, awareness, and long retreats, like meditation retreats, are helpful. You are sitting still. You are watching. After several days, the world sort of goes away. The system cannot maintain the same connections because it tends to start focusing on whatever is going on around you, and there's not much going on. So everything starts slowing down. Everything starts simplifying. There's really nothing to do except turn your attention inward. Then you begin to see what the programming is really like. You begin to hear more clearly the things you tell yourself, things you couldn't hear until everything became very quiet. The watching creates spaciousness. Your attention focuses. It's like having a microscope. Now you can begin to see what's really going on. We have a choice. We can live our lives trying to conform to some nebulous standard, or we can live our lives seeing how everything works. When we step back and look at it that way, it's obvious that the attitude of fascination is the only intelligent one to bring to anything. The attitude of fascination is the only intelligent one to bring to anything, to be fascinated. Because fascination is without judgment. And I say this all the time, isn't it interesting? That's another form of that. Fascination's a bigger energy of that. Wow, it's fascinating how isn't it fascinating? I look at this pic and then I think, how could I not love myself? Oh, and there's the self-hate. Isn't it fascinating? Instead of then making it another judgment where I make myself wrong. Sit in meditation and it's just the shit show. Wow, isn't that fascinating? I've been meditating for 10 years. Isn't it fascinating that this is all still here? That opens up space from that harsh, contracted self-hate. There's something wrong. I'm not good enough. I'm doing it wrong. Oh, isn't it fascinating? I am loving awareness. I am loving awareness. To cultivate that place of rest. Jeff. Yeah, how many years, decades have you been practicing it? And you know what? It's our longest practiced way of feeling safe because it's familiar and comfortable. But we're suffering deeply, suffering. And the more you're awake, the more deeply you suffer, because the suffering is here to bring us to what we say we want: peace, presence, freedom, and joy. So this is all here conspiring to give us what we say we want. We want to be a good person, a better person. We want to have enlightenment or awakening or be godly or spiritual. I mean, I'm just talking to myself here. I'm not saying anything that I'm not also totally in. So again, it's getting off of the field totally. Quitting that game. And we can only do that right now. Oh, isn't it fascinating? And like Michael Singer talks about doing an experiment. So let's experiment. Let me experiment sitting in meditation and just being fascinated by everything that comes up. An experiment is an energy of, there's this looseness, this openness, just like fascination. You can't get an experiment wrong either. An experiment is just like, oh, there might be this happen or that. Those are potential outcomes. Let's experiment. Let's see. Let's have an open mind. Let's be in don't know mind. An experiment means you don't know what's going to happen. Hmm. 108 meditators. All right, y'all. We're going to wrap up for today. If this was helpful, don't forget to give a donation if you would like, and follow me here on Insight Timer as well as all platforms. Catch the replay. It'll be up within 48 hours. Send me a private message if you want this PDF that I'm reading from, and I do have the audio link I can send. Yeah, I will see y'all Thursday morning in the West, Thursday morning or evening in the East, tomorrow night for morning, quote, morning Reiki. Most of my audience is in the West. So I will see you then. Thank you all for joining and for being a part of the collective awakening of, realizing ourselves, that we are God. Angela, yay! Love your willingness. Isn't that interesting that one little exchange, you took action? Awesome. You're welcome. See you all soon. Namaste.